everyone. Welcome to summer. We got Roy, we got Rahi, and we got some summer going on. We got some US men's national team training camp. How's everyone feeling about that?
Yeah, excited because this is the start of a very, very important and interesting summer. And the roster's in and the players are back together, finally in a place where they can play well, unlike with their clubs. So I'm excited.
And we got Jose Mourinho as coach.
We locked him
Right?
in.
No.
Everybody
Not
No, we
quite.
do not
Not
have
quite.
that. We
Not
do not
quite.
have
announced
that.
his
We
name a
have
little different in the announcement. They said BJ Callahan. Weird pronunciation of Jose
Yeah.
Mourinho here.
He is the next Jose Mourinho.
Oh,
Let's
he
put it
is.
that way.
Yes.
The next
So
Jose
I've heard.
Mourinho. Mr.
So I've heard.
BJ Callahan. Look,
Yeah.
it's just not a good look that
Well, why don't you tell, for those who aren't aware, why don't you explain who this,
Yeah.
who this fellow
Okay,
is?
okay. So basically what happened, Anthony Hudson, who is the interim coach, decides that he's going to go take a permanent job in the Middle East. We don't know exactly the job yet, but he decided that because he's not going to be the national team full-time coach, he should take a job that presented itself in the Middle East. And that means that the assistant to the assistant, the former strategy analyst, is now the coach, Mr. BJ Callahan. If you don't know who he is, you're not alone. I don't know who he is. A lot of people don't know who he is. But then apparently a lot of people in U.S. soccer know who he is, and he's been around the game for some time. He's been with the Philadelphia Union. He's a very well-respected person within U.S. soccer. He seems to be very hands-on because of his role with the players, hands-on with the tactics and with the strategy. So I'm not questioning his ability. I'm not questioning his work ethic. I think he may be able to do a good job. The problem is we have an assistant to an assistant now who's the coach of the team in the midst of one of the biggest summers, 3 years away from the biggest summer in the U.S. men's national team history, hosting a World Cup, having just gotten a new recruit, one of the best recruits we've ever had. And what are we doing and what is happening at the highest levels? This is once again for me the failure of an administration that is just complacent. This is complacency, and nothing against BJ, who I'm sure is fantastic and will be the next Mourinho. But how else do I read this, Roy?
We should have hired a coach by now. We are taking way too freaking long. And now we're in a situation where we're just cycling through caretakers. What happens when this guy gets a job offer to coach an MLS team? Then he's gone. Then what? His kid, his son is going to come and coach the national team. Like, what happens next? And it's continuing this reputation the U.S. has of using people who are already in this system, this kind of fraternity. I don't like it. I don't like that we're taking this long. It's almost a bit of a joke. And, we got to give our new head a bit of time, Mr. Crocker. But, man, we are about to start Nations League. We're just recruited the most important player in the history of this national team, arguably, the best dual national we could have ever gotten. And we have a caretaker looking at this team, deciding what the tactics are. It's not a good look. It's not fun. And if it's going to be Jesse Marsch, just freaking announce Jesse Marsch already.
Oh, it better not be at this point. But to your point, why couldn't Matt Crocker been hired in January? I mean, this is like, it just looks like we're sitting on our hands. And I get it. There's an explanation for everything. We're waiting for the contracts to be up, guys to open up, coaches to open up. But in the end, you can't have this excuse for everything, right? From the outside looking in, it looks like people are just sitting on their hands, being extremely complacent, as it always has been. As it always has been, complacency is the name of the game at U.S. soccer. When we have players who've exceeded the level that our administration is able to provide, our players are way better than our administrators at this point, and that's a fact. And that can't not continue.
So, given that we have him, let's talk about like the roster now. So, CONCACAF Nations League. This is who we'll just show you what's going on right now in the training camp. A little preview there.
Oh, there we
go. There it is.
There it is. So, who we excited about? Who we expecting big things from? What's the deal?
For me, I'm excited about Ricardo Pepi and Balogun to see what kind of lineup we put forward to get them both on the field, to have one coming in for the other. Obviously, it'll be Pepe coming in for Balogun, but those are two players that could lead this attack, and that is extremely exciting. I can't freaking wait to see Balogun in a U.S. shirt in an official game. I'm also excited about Taylor Booth. I'm very curious to see what Taylor Booth does. He is one of the very few Americans who are coming off a good season in Europe. He did get injured for a stretch towards the end, but he had a very exciting season. Very, very exciting season. So those are the guys I'm most pumped about. How about you, Raw Man?
One question: does Balogun start? I've heard some conversations where he needs to settle in.
I think he has to
That's
start.
idiotic. That's idiotic, man. Whoever said that,
right?
like, that's idiotic.
Yeah, he has to start, right? Like, this is insane.
Whoever said that, you can come on our show and we'll talk to you about
Okay,
it. That is one of the stupidest thing I've ever heard, man.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it
Who said
Stuart
that?
Holden? Did Holden say that? Who was it? Jeez Louise.
Was it Jeff in Louisville in his basement or something, or what, man? Okay.
But look, I'm excited about a couple things. I'm excited about Alex Lendejas because I think he didn't play so well in his first round of caps. I think he was a little overeager, and I'm excited to see him settle in a bit more. And he's such a talented player, so I'm particularly excited about that. And the other thing I'm interested and intrigued about is there's a Tyler Adams-sized hole on this team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is not easily filled by one player. It never has been. He's arguably our most important player. So what happens now? And now, I mean, is there we don't have a like for like. We don't have a number 6 on this roster.
List. Who starts in his place? We got Luca De La Torre, who's had a bad season in Europe. We have Alan Sonora, who really doesn't belong on this team right now. He's not having a good season in Mexico at all. Who do you start in his place? Is it Luca? Do we give him the chance?
Yeah, I think he does Luca. I think he does McKinney and Musa is the midfield, but none of those guys is a like for like and can fill the Tyler Adams hole, right? So it's a bit concerning. But if you're playing your best 3, that's who you play.
Yeah, or Johnny Cardoso, who I do not like. I haven't liked him at all for the U.S. national team. I know he's doing slightly better in Brazil, but that would be the closest to a like for like in that position. But it's just such a steep drop off.
He just hasn't played well yet for the national team. And so if you have to go based on who's playing well and who you can trust, it has to be those 3 guys, I think.
Yeah.
Now, how you configure it is challenging because none of them has the defensive qualities to do what Tyler Adams does. I mean, very few players in the world have the defensive qualities to do what Tyler Adams does. But I think you got to play your best 3. So I think you got to play those 3.
I just wish we would have called up Will Trapp. That would have been a perfect slot in there.
Yeah, that was I liked Will Trapp for a minute. Thierry Henry was high on Will Trapp.
That's right. Yeah, Henry was a big fan of him.
He was a big fan. The future manager was a big fan of Will Trapp.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
We'll be seeing a lot more Will Trapp if Henry gets the job.
Future manager. Well, real quick before we peel off, I think if you had to say, okay, who's the most impactful player on this roster, I think it's pretty obvious, Balogun. But after Balogun, who are you expecting the most from?
Look, this is an obvious answer, but it's Christian. I really think it is, and because he hasn't had a club season that's impactful. He hasn't done a lot in a while visibly, so we haven't seen him. We haven't seen his highlights. We haven't seen his face in a minute, right? But I think we've forgotten how good a player he is, and I think his impact is going to be significant. He loves playing against Mexico as well. So I think he's a guy that sometimes you can sleep on his ability, but he's going to be extremely motivated, extremely up for this game, and he's going to be dangerous like he always has been. And so he is the impact on this team, I think, for sure. And it's the obvious answer, but I think it bears repeating.
Yeah,
Roy.
Yeah, Pulisic is a clear choice. I'm going to go with the guy who's a bit more under the radar, who I think is going to have a big impact for this national team. That is Zendejas. And he's going to have a big impact in terms of getting Latinos to watch the national team, getting Latino players to strive to want to be on this national team. And he has that responsibility on his shoulders. So I'm excited to see how he takes this opportunity. I think he's shown a lot of interesting things in the first few games, and he's playing well in Mexico for arguably the biggest club in Mexico. So that's my guy. I think he's going to be a very good player for us.
Well, yeah, I think it's a big camp coming up. Those are both great answers, I think, from that perspective. And look, we'll continue to cover this until June 15th, which is the big day against the arch rivals. But until then, everyone stay warm, stay cold, stay whatever you are, wherever in the country you are. And as always, go USA.